During the EVO 2026 announcement show that happened last week, we got the big news, very unexpected to be honest, but pleasant surprise, the Darkstalkers is going to be a part of the lineup of both EVO Japan and EVO Vegas next year. And this has kind of like sparked a new potential discussion about the possibility of Darkstalkers making a comeback as a franchise, either with a new entry on the series or a complete reboot of the IP. So in this video, I'm gonna do one of the things that I like to do the most, and I'm gonna cover my face with clown painting and put my tinfoil hat because we are gonna discuss why Darkstalkers might be actually coming back. And I have multiple arguments, guys. It's not only about the EVO 2026 lineup, so stay until the end of the video to hear me out, okay? And let's get into it. Okay people, so just to put it away instantly and have the discussion without, sugarcoating anything, doesn't actually mean something for Darkstalkers as a franchise that it is going to be a part of EVO's lineup both in Japan and Vegas. Well, yes and no, there is nuance into it, okay? We've had many other Capcom fighting games specifically in the last few years in the EVO lineups, in EVO Vegas specifically, like we've had Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Capcom vs SNK 2, Third Strike, and even other games. And when you think about it, it is very obvious that Capcom has been doing an active effort to put these games back on the spotlight with, for example, the collections, right? We have the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, great game. We also have Capcom Fighting Collection 2 with CVS2 on it and other amazing titles. But we already have a collection that has a lot of Darkstalkers on it, guys, and it's Capcom Fighting Collection 1. It has been released already. So it is not really about how the presence of Darkstalkers in EVO 2026 might be connected to a re-release of older games. If it's not that the case, then why would it be connected to a completely new entry on the franchise? So yeah, I'm crushing your hopes, I know, but I have more arguments that are kind of like connected to not EVO necessarily, but Capcom as a company that could in some way hint to Darkstalkers and even other Capcom fighting games making a comeback. Exhibit A. Capcom has publicly stated over the last few weeks that they want to revive many IPs and franchises that they have not worked on for many years, including games like Devil May Cry, Mega Man, and Ace Attorney. And they of course didn't talk publicly about other, IPs or franchises, but this could also be a message that is generalizable to fighting games. Capcom has many fighting game IPs and basically a big library of fighting games that they have not re-released in terms of a new entry or complete reboot of the franchise in a very long time. Like Street Fighter 6 is the only fighting game that Capcom has been working on and making, new entries for the series in over a decade and more. And the other games are just relegated to collections, right? And this message about Capcom, trying to like actively revitalize their library of games and whatever is very frequent. Like I feel like every single year, at the end of the year, close to Christmas, we hear this idea that Capcom wants to revive many of their games. But the thing is, guys, Capcom is actually delivering on that promise. They are actually doing it, and we are getting, or we are gonna get in the foreseeable future, many games from their library of old IPs that are actually coming back. We're gonna get a new Onimusha, a new Okami, and at the Game Awards that just happened, we also got a trailer for a new Mega Man game. So it is very obvious that Capcom is being honest about their idea of bringing back all their games. So why does that necessarily exclude fighting games? And when you think about it, if there is any franchise out there from the history of Capcom fighting games outside of Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom that would maybe deserve to come back and be potentially a huge success, is Darkstalkers if executed right. Don't click off the video, people. I know that I sound crazy, but don't leave, okay? Hear me out. Then we have Exhibit B. And one of the main problems with Darkstalkers as a franchise overall is that it is very hard for it to make a comeback in the current state of Capcom as a company. And why is that? Because Capcom has been developing and moving into a very hyper-realistic graphical and art style. When you see any Capcom game of the last around 10 years, since 2017 I think was the first year in which an RE Engine game was released, which was Resident Evil 7 if I'm not mistaken, and they have basically used kind of the same or very similar similar style with almost every single game after that, even though each, of course, video game has their own uniqueness to it in the graphical style that it has. There is obviously a very generalizable trend into hyper-realism in Capcom graphics, and we are very far away from the Darkstalkers / Marvel vs. Capcom 2 days of art style. And if I'm not wrong, actually, I think that every single Capcom game since RE7 has been done on the RE engine. Like, they are not using anything else at the moment. And this is kind of like on the detriment of games like Darkstalkers that have a more cartoony style, you know, that looks more like a cartoon / 2D sprite game. And when you look at absolutely all the games that Capcom has released with the RE engine, there is only one game, arguably, that is quote-unquote more cartoony, and that is the Ghosts and Goblins Revival. And it doesn't look good, guys, okay? This is one of the worst looking RE engine games that Capcom has released. But nowadays, Capcom has been showing new games coming from, 2026 and onwards that look much more cartoony, and we don't know if they're being developed on the RE engine or if they have, constructed another like in-house graphical engine for video games that is actually able to do games like this, or if they just got, adapted enough to the RE engine to work in games that actually look more cartoony. And this is huge news to franchises like Darkstalkers, because I'm pretty sure that Capcom would not want to ever have Darkstalkers make a comeback if they cannot make it look, faithfully like the series used to look, because it was one of the big appeals, the charm of Darkstalkers as a game visually was that cartoony 2D style. So they probably don't want to move from that into something that looks like Street Fighter 6, for example. I cannot see a character, like Jada or Morrigan looking like a Street Fighter 6 character. I think that it would not work at all. Like, it would be pretty weird, and they are aware of that. With SF6, it was very different, right? Because the franchise, even though it still looked kind of cartoony from SF4 to SF5, it was still moving into that 3D dimensional, more realistic graphical style, and with the RE engine and SF6, it got kind of like consolidated, right, in the last game. And it also makes more sense for Street Fighter as a franchise because it is mostly humans fighting, okay? In Darkstalkers, you have a guy that literally command grabs you with his butt.
She's watching, by the way, and he is like, damn that ass. And then he picked his nose. This shit is like 2 steps away from a Ren and Stimpy cartoon. 10 out of 10.
So we kind of need that cartoony capability for the graphical engine in which Capcom is going to develop the game to actually make it look like that in a more modernized graphic, landscape. And now it seems like that might be a real possibility. And the thing is that it's not only about the new Mega Man that we got at the Game Awards that to me looks much better than Mega Man 11, even though it is pretty obvious that it's early on development, but it is also about another game which is called Monster Hunter Stories 3. If you look at this game, this is arguably the first Capcom game done in the RE engine or in the RE engine era of Capcom that actually looks more like a true cartoon, even though the game is clearly like 3D, right? It's not a 2D sprite game or anything like that. But this is a clear, big step into another art style inside the RE engine or whatever other graphical motor they might be working on, which is probably just the RE engine, to be honest. I don't think that they would do another one. But it is, clear evidence that they want to do games outside of this hyper-realistic style. And with that, people, I take my tinfoil hat off and the clown painting off my face. Those are the reasons why I think the Darkstalkers might actually come back. Now, it's not gonna be soon or anything like that, it's probably gonna take a while, but the chances are higher than ever. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of these topics, and of course, like and subscribe if you can to support the channel, and see you on the next one. Keep enjoying fighting games.